Hello, my name is Morgan Chris, and I'm going to be doing a persuasive speech for you. It's problem and solution. Now, almost all Americans, once a week, put their trash on the edge of the street and wait for it to be picked up by sanitation workers. Most of those Americans also know that once that trash is picked up, it's taken to a giant heaping landfill. Now, according to ZeroWaste.com, the U.S. has 3,091 active landfills, and it has over 10,000 old municipal landfills. These old, retired landfills are hazardous to water and the air surrounding them. These colossal landfills have safeguards to help prevent the spread of these hazardous things, but they have proven to be ineffective over the years. This has been an underlying problem that the United States has yet to really acknowledge. Now, throughout extensive research and real-world examples, I have found a solution called WTE, or waste to energy, which could decrease the amount of landfills used in the United States. Now, today I will explain the overuse of landfills and how much land they take up and how WTE can help both of these underlying issues. Now, landfills do more harm than good to the environment. Landfills have done a good job over the years accumulating waste. The downside to these landfills are the problems that occur when it's not properly maintained. Now, the two main environmental problems that we face caused by landfills, WeGreenUSA.org says that the air pollution and the ground and water pollution are the main biggest issues. Now, many people who live near landfills continue to report health problems associated with foul odors, pests, and polluted water. Now, someone named Sonia Sutton wrote for the UNC Center for Health Promotion and Diseases a new study. That's what Sonia Sutton had read. It was about the foul odors and stuff like that. Now, there's a new study by UNC that finds that potentially hazardous foul odors are commonly reported by neighbors who live close to regional landfills. Now that we have looked to see how landfills can pollute the air, let's take a look how it can contaminate our groundwater as well. Almost 50% of the U.S. population depends on groundwater for drinking. Now, if the water were to become contaminated, it would be really bad for the American population, seeing as most of our water comes from groundwater. Now, groundwater.org explains how landfills have a protected bottom layer to prevent contamination from getting into the water, but there's not a layer, it's cracked, which happens over time. It can. Contaminants from the landfill can be battery acid, paint, and other cleaners or anything like that can make their way through the layer, or if there isn't one, make their way through the ground down to the groundwater, which in turn contaminates it. Now, in addition to all the issues that landfills can cause to the environment, they do take up a lot of land. And landfills take up hundreds of acres of land. Once a landfill has been filled to its brink, you're not sure where it could get moved. They could find new areas to put this waste in. They can't just not put it anywhere. So once it gets moved to a new area, you gotta imagine how big that would be, moving from one landfill to another. So now the city of Huntsville has about 344 acres of land, not landfill, but just the whole sanitation property, with about 81.5 acres of permitted land for the actual landfill itself. According to Huntsville's sanitation website, the average urban property size of homes is about 1 to 2 acres of land, and the amount of land that landfill can take, the amount of houses that you can put in a landfill that big, that's a lot of houses. So now, given that all this land is taken up by landfills, have you ever wondered what happens when the landfills get too full? Well, the sanitation departments have to find more land to put the trash in. So looking back at Huntsville's land, property, that's about 81 acres of land that they have to find more of. I'm sure they wouldn't move the whole entire plant, because that's 300 and something acres, but they would move enough to where you would be able to fill another landfill. Now, I found a solution that can help resolve both of the underlying problems. It's called WTE, or waste energy, as I said before. Waste energy is a form of burning trash to create energy for cities, towns. Now, using this method would help decrease the amount of trash that's put into landfills. Now, Sweden uses a waste energy program which allows less than 1% of their waste to end up in landfills. Now, according to theaverage.com, 2.2 million tons of waste are converted to energy, and they are imported nearly 800,000 tons of waste from other countries as well. Now, the United States generates over 22 million tons of waste each year. And if you can imagine the amount of energy that could provide for cities and surrounding areas, that is way more than Sweden. Sweden even imports more, and it still doesn't compare to how much waste the US generates. Not to mention the amount of space that would be created because of WTE. With almost half the intake of trash being burned, it would decrease the size needed for landfills, so it might not make landfills completely obsolete, but it would help decrease the amount of time it takes to fill up the landfills that are already here, and to also make new landfills, because if it takes longer to fill one up, they don't have as much time to actually create a new landfill. Now, WTE plants are probably about the size of a recycling plant. They're not that big, but you gotta imagine the recycling plant or the WTE plant isn't gonna be as big burning that much trash. It doesn't get much bigger. So less trash being put in the landfills, versus trash that's being burned. I mean, that's a lot better, and it also makes energy. So with that being said, I want you to think of someone you love. Imagine that they live in a house near a landfill, and they get sick from intoxicating fumes, that come from the landfills that, make people sick, or the drinking or groundwater. Imagine not being able to drink out of your sink or, faucet because of the possibly contaminated groundwater. Now, if there were more WTE plants, that would lead to less landfills next to your loved one's house and home. So this would decrease the amount of people, getting toxic chemicals in them. So please take this opportunity to do something in your community and make a difference by getting a WTE plant added in your city. Thank you.